Okay. I don't know what's going on. It's time for a new headset or something, I guess. um, okay, so just to get started real quick, any follow-up from last week? Did anybody have questions, things they thought about over the week in regards to construction? And I guess we can also talk about the video as well. Did anybody have any thoughts on that? Did it spark any interest, those type of things? Silence. Well, I think just to go back to the construction piece, it's a really broad topic. So if you guys do have questions on construction, there's quite a few of the mentors that do work at construction companies on our calls and stuff. So if you do have something, feel free to reach out to them. Or if you don't have a construction person in your room or something, just let us know you'd like to have one in there for a second and we can switch those around here. But definitely it's a broad topic and it affects a lot of different parts and pieces of the world of architecture, construction, and engineering. So think about that. As far as the video from this week is the materials piece, materials is a really broad topic, as you could well guess. That was talking about some specific materials to consider for your various components of your project. But materials, when we think about it from a design perspective or even from a construction perspective, they range anywhere from the plants and the landscaping to the components on a sprinkler system, all the way into the building to the faucets and the tile that's behind your kitchen. So it's a really broad topic. As you can see, like my background, there's a ton of materials. Most of those materials, or a lot of those materials, you would never even see because they all get covered up. And those are sometimes just as important as the materials like on Kevin's that are cool and cause a cool architectural design, and sometimes hard to build because he's got round stuff on there, which I don't like to build as much, but round is very cool though. So just when you guys are thinking about materials and thinking about the design of your tiny homes, you can definitely use all of those parts and pieces moving forward. So interior design, Kevin, I don't know if there's much you want to say about that. You're definitely the interiors person more so.
That interior design is that for me, it's a lot just more about sort of tactile feeling and the things that you're able to touch and feel and see even more than what you see on the outside of a building. So I probably focus more in my practice on interior design than anything else. And it's just for me, it's architecture, but at a smaller scale where you get more into details and how different materials interact with each other, how they touch each other, how people might interact with those things, and how you create space, which I think is probably the biggest piece of all of it is space. And I touched on that, I think, a little bit in that site plan thing we talked about initially, but on interiors, especially when we're talking about a tiny house like this, it's how can we multitask and use different spaces to do a few different things and really just have them be positive at the end of the day instead of just like saying we need a little room for a kitchen, we need a little room for a bathroom, we need a little room for 30 different things in this tiny house. How can we use space and design and materials to make those pieces feel better and just not feel like they're in a tiny house maybe?
Exactly. Cool. So as far as the agenda goes, we're going to have a small presentation. I'll go to the next slide. Can everybody see the slides? Did I put those up? Okay, good. We'll go through a quick little presentation. We do want to talk about scale today. I didn't put that here on the agenda, but what does scale mean and how do you think about scale? Kevin's going to give us a little tutorial on the scales that we all get to use. And then I will also, that I didn't put here on the agenda, I will also scan through a few student presentations from previous years. The reason I want to do that, I'm not going to give their presentation. I'm just going to click through their slides real quick is I want to give you guys an idea of what the presentation would entail. They're all different. It's really up to your groups. And that's what the time is for you guys to collaborate in the breakout room. So I just want to give you an idea what those are like. If you have questions on certain ones that we go through or that type of thing,
Did we lose Sean? You're on mute.
there you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I got disconnected. Don't know. The water on the transmission lines or something out there. Let's change the screen share there. Okay, so I guess we will go into the next slide here. Materials was the background for this week. Continue to follow us on email, Slack, and probably using Slack more just because I think everybody has contact with that. If you're not finding that helpful, just let me know and I will continue to do the emails. But one of the things we were running to in on Slack, I just wanted to let you guys know is some of those videos were big. So we created a Google Drive to push those to the Google Drive. And I put some links in Slack. Let me know if you can't access those videos to those links. I think the site visit and those type of things, if those aren't working, we'll have to figure out a different way. But I just wanted to let you know we pulled them off of Slack and put them on a link to a Google Drive. So just let me know either way there. Also, and I'm not sure of the address, Kevin, maybe you remember previous week videos, weeks 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 are being posted to YouTube. If you do happen to miss a session or want to go and see what maybe a different session did for that week, you can definitely do that. I'll see if I can find a link to where those show up or the subscription area so that you guys can go look at those if you do want to. Most all of the other sessions are doing the same exact content or the same theme for the week, just different presenters. So I think a couple of our sessions are up there as well. So, and then just a reminder in Slack, there's a ton of links in there for scholarships or internships. Continue to go there. If you want to apply for one of the ACE Colorado ones, you end up going to the ACE Colorado website where you logged in as a student, and you can find all the application information there. So just wanted to give you those quick reminders, and then we'll let Kevin start talking about scale unless anybody has any questions. Okay.
All right. So everybody, did everybody get a package in the mail? Is anybody still waiting for a package? Thumbs up or?
Thumbs up.
Just one? Just one of you?
Jackson had it. He did a real thumbs up.
Okay, a real thumbs up. Right. So you should have gotten a ruler. I think it's a paper version of one of these, which is just an architecture engineering scale. Some trace paper, and then a sitemap, which is just a printed out version of our sitemap, which I think will be helpful for you guys moving forward. And we'll try and just ask a couple of questions on that. But what we wanted to go through real quickly is the scales. I think some of you have probably seen it in years previously. You were part of ACE, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, but just the importance of the scales and how we use them. So there's a couple of different scales. We'll start, there's architect scale, which is what I've got here in my hand. That's what I use because I'm an architect. And it's basically just inches and feet. And this diagram does a really good job of showing how it works. There's typically two scales on each side. So here you're seeing 1/8 and 1/4, and it depends on the way you read it from which side is how those numbers start to work. So if you start on the left and go right, you can see it's 0, 4, 8, 12. If you start on the right and go left, it's 0, 2, 4, 6. So what this quarter scale means is a quarter of an inch, and you can see how that might work out there. A quarter of an inch equals 1 foot. So all it's doing is just allowing you to quickly read what's happening on a piece of paper. So as an example, the site plans that we got are to a scale of 0 to 1 foot equals 20 feet. And so you want to go to the next slide. So metric scales, I think, make way more sense. I think the engineers got this right. The architects make it way too complex. But the metric stuff makes so much more sense because it's all basically divisibles of 10. So this is an example of a 1 to 200, basically. I think the next slide shows the engineering scales a little bit better. So you can see here we've got a 1 to 10 and a 1 to 50 on the same scale. So my engineering scale is super tiny. You can't see it. It just looks like a pen, but I have one just because I need it sometimes. But it's interesting because it's so 1 to 10. So 1 inch equals 10 feet. So here you're seeing each tick mark basically is a foot. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then on the other side, you're seeing 1 inch equals 50 feet. So, it breaks it out a little bit differently. You typically get less divisions when you start to get to some of these bigger scales. But on this one, you can see it's just going where 2 actually means 20 feet. Then 4 is 40. And you kind of just make your way down the scale. And then see here, if we go to the next one, I wanted to kind of, if a few of you have, I know a few of you have your models on hand. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting if we could just have you pull out your scale and drop it on that site plan, and maybe someone can give us the dimension of York Street. Can someone do that? Just from top to bottom, how big is York Street?
Oops.
So if we go like there, that blue line.
Oh, there you go.
This map is at 1 to 20, so you'll use that where 1 inch equals 20 feet. It should be printed to scale, the one that we sent you.
As you guys are looking for that, you can always tell what scale the drawing is at when it's usually, they give you a little key box or something in the corner to show you what scale it's at. So you can throw your scale on there and make sure you have the right one that says 2 inches is the 40 feet. Yep.
Yeah. Does anybody know why they put this little graphic on the bottom of the page? In addition to just saying it's 1 to 20? We like to put those on when we're not sure that it's going to get printed out at the right scale. Like that's normally when I will add them. Just because it's a second check for people, just like Sean was saying, is you could just jump in here and put your scale on it and say, oh, this is printed correctly. So every dimension that I measure up on the page is going to be pretty close. When you're measuring to scale, it's never perfect, but it's always pretty close. Was anybody able to measure that, or?
Just type it in the chat if you figure out how wide York Street is there. See a few people grabbing their drawings. Guessing it's not 200 feet.
380
Anybody?
seems pretty big. But okay, so we got a couple there. So I measured 40 feet. So I think 380. Okay, yeah. So including sidewalks, about 50. Um, I'm guessing 380 feet. You may be using the wrong conversion on the scale. So I'm
Or
wondering.
did you measure the length?
Oh, true. Yeah, the length of it would be. Yeah. So let's try. How about what if we did Gaylord Street? So the street up top and do that same dimension. Um, what do you get?
Yeah.
Can you see my little scribble there? I'll make this one in red.
$20. That's got to be pretty close.
Yeah, I came up with 30.
Okay.
Is that scale making sense to you guys? Like how that comes in? We'll definitely mess with it a little bit more as we move forward on these things. It's going to become really important because once we get, hopefully all of you get these packages here in the next week. But it's a really good opportunity for you to you can use your scale and make something the size of the tiny homes, or make something the size, just like a little piece of paper, and you can just drop them on there and start seeing what they look like inside that plan. Um, but that's just what we want to show you on scale. I'm sure, if you guys have questions moving forward, everyone here can help you out, sort of figuring out what those things look like and work with it.
Cool. So you will use this drawing if you can get it on Slack or if you have it there with yourself, because we do have a few things that we want you to measure or scale off on the drawing during our breakout sessions. It won't take you very long, so you'll have a little bit of time to design for sure. So I am going to, any questions on scale before we kind of just look at some other presentations real quick, and then we'll get you in your breakout rooms. Okay. Looking at the chat. Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure this works. Okay, so like I said, I am just gonna scan through these very quickly just to give you an idea of what they're doing as part of their presentations. Everyone's different. So this was a concept for a fire station that we did 2 or 3 years ago, I believe. So you can see sketches and stuff that we're hoping everybody gets a chance to work on. They're talking this one. I picked this one because they talked about materials since it was very applicable to this week. I'm showing pictures. And these were all presentations that they were, obviously we could do in person. It may be a little bit different on Zoom, but you can still do the presentation and get the presentation board done, and then people can still talk on Zoom. So So there's one. I'm just giving you this as another sample from the same year. So this is just showing you what another group's vision for the fire station was. And then I'm just going to give you 2 more real quick for a couple different other projects here. This was 2 years ago. Presentation that was done. Hopefully some of this stuff is making sense from some of the other sessions that we've done, but this was this group's interpretation of this veterinary hospital at the Denver Zoo. And then this was a presentation from last year's. A couple of the teams that stuck through it towards the end after you guys all had to go home. Had a hotel component, so they were trying to give you an idea what their typical hotel room was. So just wanted to give you guys an idea on those. If we find some other good examples, those are just ones that I knew of and had quick access to. But that gives you guys an idea of where you're trying to get to with your presentation. So you probably have a lot of work to do to get your design moving in that direction so that you have those things to do. So you can incorporate those into a presentation. Let's see. I think this was for the breakout sessions. Do we have that video, Kevin? Do we just want to send them a link, or I don't know. Is that something old that might have been left over?
I think that's old.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to take that off then. If you do need to know how to annotate, it's typically a button on Zoom where you can annotate, and then I think you guys can take screenshots and stuff. So that's one way to share materials when you're collaborating. I think there's another tool out there. If Katie's got it figured out, perfect. There's another tool out there in Jamboard from Google. I know some of you guys picked Google or Google Drive where you were storing documents. That might be something that you guys can do. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I'm not totally familiar with it, but I've heard that it works pretty well. So I think the collaboration is the piece that we want you guys to start getting out of these breakout sessions. So working together, talking together as a team, and using the drawings and those type of things and making screenshots and whatever you need to do. As far as the mentors go, we're going to try to not talk as much, which is hard for us because we like to share what we do because we have a lot of fun doing what we do. But we're there for you. So if you guys got questions, I think we're going to start turning it over for you guys to lead the breakout sessions and getting what you guys need out of them to get your presentations done. So I just left the project team summary on here. I think everybody did this a few weeks ago. If you haven't done that, if you can just make sure you do that and put that with your Google Drive, and so we can look at it if we need to. If something's changed because you got interested in some other things, just let us know that. But I think that's something everybody did a few weeks ago. But make sure that's updated because you'll want to share that when you do your presentation. So I'm going to copy these scale questions into the chat real quick. These are the questions we'd like to get answers at after the breakout session. So you guys can work together and see if you guys can collaborate and come up with the same answer for your groups. But I will put those in the chat real quick, just so you have them before we do Yep. Okay. So they're all there. So you've got those before we go to the breakout. So that's really the only thing besides any project summary or anything like that that we really want you to do this week as far as a deliverable afterwards. So we're really giving you the time. I think you guys planned last week, or some of the groups got to plan last week of things they thought they were going to want to do for their presentations. So you can start working on those. You can start working on tiny home design. And I think you probably do want to get your site a little more done, because that allows you to do a bunch of other parts of the project. So thinking about where you want your houses allows you to be able to do a landscape plan later. So, which are requirements of the RFP. So that's what we've got today. So we're really trying to give you more time to do that. What I think the mentors are going to do, since it's about 4 o'clock right now, I think Kevin will push us into our breakout rooms probably about 4:20 or so. Maybe the mentors will come out of the breakout rooms, so you guys can keep working, keep collaborating, keep doing that stuff. And we'll talk among mentors if some of us need to go into different rooms to help you guys out with questions. So that gives you about 20-25 minutes. If you've got some questions and one of the mentors can't answer them, we can switch a little bit at that time, and then we'll go come back into the rooms and help you guys. So, and you guys can just tell us to be quiet. We don't have to talk, so that you guys can get your stuff done. But we also don't want it to be our design. We want it to be your design, because you guys have a lot of creative ideas. So hopefully that works. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So it's, I think you can push us. I think mentors, let's say 4:25. We'll just come out and we'll talk and see if anybody needs any specific help and those type of things. And then maybe we'll work till 5 and just have a quick discussion after that, and go from there. Does that work?
Hey, Sean, will Zoom automatically push the mentors into a different group?
No, just leave the room. Just leave the breakout room, and
Oh,
then
and
you'll
go
go
back
back
to-
to the
okay.
main room. And our
Sorry, I'm
breakout
really
room
bad
will-
at Zoom.
No, I am too. So that one seemed to work because I went out of the room and talked to Kevin last week. So,
Okay.
so yeah, the mentors can just go out of the room, and we'll probably come back in the rooms around 4:35, 4:40, somewhere in there. So students, this is really your time to start figuring out things, and we can start lending a lot more input once you get some design down. So cool.
Sweet.
Yep.
I'll shoot you into groups. See you guys in a
Thank you,
minute.
guys. Yep.